Hey everyone, I'm Cecil Laird.
I mean, Fuego here.
And this is your Horror Show News, Editorial Edition, brought to you every Friday right here on the Horror Show. And what we do basically is we discuss all of this week's top horror stories continued from our delivery of said stories over at youtube.com/thekingsofhorror. You can see us deliver it in your traditional news style, but here we go Sports Center style, where we talk about all of this week's news stories and our opinions on them. So first off...
Yes, we have so much more to say.
Exactly. Let's talk about Underworld, Fuego. Now, This new trailer came out. We have yet to watch it. We're going to watch it in just a little bit for a reaction.
For the reaction.
Exactly. You guys can check that out. It'll probably already have aired by the time this has come up. So check out our trailer reaction, which we have yet to record. Time War.
I know, my goodness. We're like going back to the future style ahead of time.
But are you excited about the Underworld movie?
Moderately, perhaps. I mean, I loved the second film. Didn't like the first film. They're very similar to the Resident Evil franchise with me, where, I mean, they're kind of hit and miss. I always am entertained, but as far as being quality, I think it's kind of comes and goes.
Hit and miss.
So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I enjoyed actually all of the first four, even the third one without Kate Beckinsale.
That was the prequel, right?
It was the prequel, exactly.
Yeah.
It told the story that they allude to in the first Underworld movie.
Yeah,
so,
it still had her dad in it, right?
Yes, exactly. So, but you know, honestly, the fact that Kate Beckinsale's returning, and they say this might be her final one, whoever knows, but...
if it makes a lot of money, I doubt it.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see more Celine and more vampires versus Lycans.
Totally.
I like that heavy action style.
Indeed. I mean, these are always, like I said, Resident Evil is exactly in the same boat where I always see them in theaters too. I always give them a chance, and I'm always entertained, but it's like varying levels. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then the next thing we have to talk about is the Toxic Avenger. I'd heard chatter about getting a remake. I was wondering if it was going to be a sequel or just a reimagining or what, because I'm not so sure Troma's even involved at this point.
Yeah, you know,
and this guy gives me so much crap for not seeing things. Toxic Avenger is as violent, silly, wacky. It's very Troma. If you've seen any of their stuff, it epitomizes that Lloyd Kaufman. Like, it's silly, it's so low budget, but it's fun. I mean, there was one particular scene in the original movie where they're like killing people on bikes, like old women and stuff, and they're like, oh no, if you get the guy and the bike, it's like 50 points instead of 20 points. And I mean, it's just violent and stupid. Like it's very fun. They made 4 of them, I think, Citizen Toxie being the last one, but that's where he's like crossing over with Sergeant Kabuki Man and other characters from the Troma. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's very full moonish, as we often talk about. I mean, low budget for the sake of low budget, but still fun. And I'm just wondering if it's going to go from R to PG-13 with the fact that they said it's going to be more mainstream and grounded and all that stuff. And I'm not excited for that take, because I saw that with the cartoon. I remember being a kid and playing with the Toxic Avenger toys. I had my own little Toxie with his mop, and so... I mean, as a kid, I didn't even realize there was an R-rated movie associated with the property. So,
I didn't either, but I'll be interested to see. You know, this will be.
We got to at least watch the first.
It'll be a version for the new generation, and well, we'll see. Maybe it might be fun to have this be my first exposure to it and judge based on that. You know?
Then jump backwards and see how great the originals
were. See how far it's come or gone.
Well, it could be either way with the Sausage Party guy directing, because even though he did that, which was R-rated, he also did like Shrek 2 and Aliens versus Monsters, and it's his first foray into live action, so I'm curious what he's going to do.
Fair enough. Now, while that one may have gone from R, or may go from R to PG-13, let's talk about a movie that's going from R to unrated, which is the new version of Evil Dead, which director Fede Alvarez revealed that we are going to be getting before Halloween this year. And I, for one, am excited about it, because the first iteration was plenty gory and really satisfying as a result.
It was. I just have mixed feelings about the film, because it was one of the goriest things I've maybe ever seen.
It was awesome.
Seriously, if you're going for gore, which I know this guy loves, it delivered, but it just didn't really feel like it even had the spirit of the first film to me.
Well, it didn't have Bruce. So it's hard
to. At the
very but Bruce wasn't the main one of the main characters, so it's tough to capture that kind of magic without that kind of actor.
It's true.
But I still enjoyed it for what it was.
And the girl from Don't Breathe was in that.
Yeah, I totally had spaced on that too. But I'm excited to see what we might get out of an extended unrated cut. especially after Don't
How much
Breathe.
gorier could it get, dude?
Who knows, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, indeed you are. I still want to find out if they're ever going to cross the streams and bring that universe in with, because they keep hinting at
maybe
it.
Eventually. Maybe that's another reason why they're re-releasing it. And they're doing it when the second season of Ash vs. Evil Dead is premiering, so who knows? There might be more of a tie than we even know about just now.
Well, I know Fede Alvarez.
Fede
Alvarez. I know he still wants to make, he had like a script idea at least for a second Evil Dead reboot, and so who knows? Imagine him directing or maybe working on the TV show a little bit, working with Bruce. Dude, that would be so rad. So I'm going to go to my second story, which was the Pelco Experiment. Nobody knows much about this movie except from the fact that it's James Gunn again working with Michael Rooker. You know, he was in Slither, and we all know him from The Walking Dead as old Merle, which I am diving through currently for a panel we're doing for Phoenix Fangoria FearCon. But yeah, anything that Gunn puts his hands on, I have pretty much adored. So what's your thoughts on Pelco Experiment and locking off a bunch of employees in this big, like, it's almost like a company fortress and making them kill each other?
I'll see it. I mean, obviously, James Gunn is directing?
So yeah, Gunn is writing, but Greg McLean, who did Rogue, which I know you and I both liked, he also did the Wolf Creek series, and unfortunately, The Darkness, which we saw recently. But at least he's just directing, and Gunn is working on the script, wrote the script all by himself, so for that sheer fact, I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, that at least gives it a higher possibility of being good than usual, but, you know, if Gunn's not directing, I'm not super pumped, but I'll still see it for sure.
Well, he just wrote Dawn of the Dead as opposed to directing it, but then again, I think Zack Snyder's a hell of a director,
yeah,
so
maybe
that's what saved that one. So
I don't know. I'm excited, but let's dive into my last story, which was the fact that TV Land is going to be adapting the 1988 Heathers cult film into a TV series.
What a weird destination.
It'll be like American Horror Story, where it'll be a season after season anthology series, where it'll be a different girl in high school, or they said heroine, versus a group of mean girls.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's more like Scream Queens, which I haven't seen, but I've had everyone and their mom and their grandma tell me, you don't think so? I mean,
well, no, because that'd be such a dramatic shift. Heathers was such a super dark, serious movie. Have you seen it?
I have seen it many times, and I completely disagree. I think Heathers was a dark comedy, and the fact that we're even covering it on this show, I wanted to do this story myself, and I thought he was going to veto it, so there's so much humor in that, from, you know, the F me gently with a chainsaw to I love my dead gay son. I mean, there was humor throughout. I really felt like it was a dark comedy at the end of the day.
But it was, I mean, dark comedy, sure, because there were funny lines, but the subject matter is still very seriously dark. And,
people killing each other.
Well, and making it look like suicide, and teen suicide too is I don't know that they can focus on that aspect. I seriously doubt they would even bring up teen suicide. If they do, it wouldn't be more than a one mention passing of teen suicide,
especially on TV Land and
adapting
R-rated
it just seems such
source
a weird
material.
Fit.
Yeah, I mean, the network alone is what's holding me back from being on board for this.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of being on board with things, I am stoked that Mike Flanagan is going to potentially finally be seeing his vision for Geralds Game, which they said was unfilmable because it's pretty much just a woman locked to a bed, handcuffed for the entirety of the story. Do you think that can actually work? I mean, hey, it'd be low budget at least.
If they did a
film it on the cheap.
Was Drive the one that was Ryan Gosling in a car the entire time?
Yeah, it was from the same guy who directed Neon Demon that you hated so much.
Nicholas Refn, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't bother seeing it because I just didn't want to sit in a car for an hour and a half.
Yeah, but I don't know that I'm excited. Episode where they're in the car the whole time.
No. The episode was filmed from the car's perspective, so there was stuff outside of the car. This seems like it'd be boring if it's going to take place in a room with a girl chained to a bed the whole time. But they've done that. They did flashbacks. They did Buried, right? I think it was Buried with Ryan Reynolds,
Mr. Deadpool.
They did Phone Booth, which was largely one location, except with all this, the city around the phone booth as well.
Joel Schumacher.
So, but those weren't chained to like just one. I guess Buried was more so, and Buried was interesting. You know what? So I don't know. Maybe I just talked myself into trying it.
Yeah, I mean the entire movie doesn't.
I will try it because it's King.
Yeah, exactly. And the entire movie film, I mean, there's like a little bit of story before and a little bit of story after, but the bulk of it all takes place after her husband dies. This woman is basically getting down with her fat husband she doesn't love very much, and she's in a loveless marriage, not really enjoying where she's at, and so she's not too regretful when he dies, except for the fact that he was into weird kinky sex, and she's handcuffed to the bed in the middle of nowhere. They're in this cabin where there's nobody close by, and so she's pretty much going to die there if she doesn't figure out a way to escape. So, interesting premise, and it was when King was in this weird mid-90s stage stage where he wanted to write from the perspective of women all the time again. And so, I mean, it's not one of my favorite novels of his, but I always felt like it did have potential as a film. And with Mike Flanagan, I think the new Ouija film actually looks good when I had zero interest donuts in that original one. So, hey, with him behind the camera, maybe Netflix will save this property.
Hopefully so.
Because they're supposed to.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's editorial edition of the Horror Show News. A couple things to mention before we go is first, our awesome new ties, which were made by the amazing Etsy shop So Ashtastic with an S-E-W.
We love you, Ash.
Got the blood splatter and we got the supernatural tie because it is Supernatural Day. Very appropriate.
The show I fell in love with this year.
Absolutely. And make sure you also go and check out our regular stories. We do this every Friday, but we also deliver the stories in a more typical fashion like the regular news stations do. So if you want to see that, head over to youtube.com/thekingsof horror. You can watch us do the stories improper and then come over here and relax a little bit, although we didn't undo the ties today because, frankly, the ties are too nice to mess with right now.
And I guess we just did it.
So, thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And until next time, remember, stay scared.